Hi everyone, I'm Jason Ganz, Analytics Manager at GoCanvas, and I'm here today to talk to you about lead scoring for fun and profit, or how you can implement a culture of lead scoring in your business to make better decisions. Every day at our organizations, we're faced with countless decisions. Do we redesign our website to convert more of our visitors? Or do we spend that budget on a marketing campaign to bring in more leads? Should we design our trial sign-up flow? And if so, how do we know what the value metric is to determine whether this is a success? This is especially difficult because we live in a world of imperfect information. It takes a lot of time for us to actually know whether our decisions are flowing downstream into real revenue for the business. One strategy to help make this better and allow you to make decisions faster is lead scoring. Lead scoring is a system that allows you to rank your leads by value so that you know which ones are the best and which ones are the worst. It's a relatively simple concept, but it has massive implications for your business and can truly be useful across the organization. Let's take a look at how different departments can use lead scoring to make better decisions. For the marketing team, lead scoring is all about making sure that you are spending your dollars on the right campaigns. How many of you have ever started a new marketing campaign, been really excited about all the great new leads you were bringing in for a good cost per lead, and then 3 or 6 months later, it turns out that it just didn't convert into that much revenue? Using lead scoring, you can know that you're bringing in not just any leads, but the type of leads that are actually going to want to use your service. On the sales side, lead scoring is all about making sure your salespeople use their most important resource, their time, effectively. At any given moment, your salespeople could be dialing one of the 3 new leads that just walked in the door. They could be calling someone that they talked to 4 days ago to follow up and see how they're using the product. Or they could be working on that re-engagement campaign you've been wanting to do. It's really hard to know which action is going to lead to the most value. Using lead scoring, you can create an analytical and systematic way of actioning all of your leads so that your sales operations team can tell your salespeople what the most effective action to take at any given kind would be. And product is where it gets really interesting. As your product team is building out A/B tests, new features, and different ways to engage your customers, you want to be sure that the decisions they're making are resonating with your core audience, with your best leads. Using lead scoring to help figure out your value metric in your A/B tests is a really interesting way of making lead scoring work for the product team. That's not to say that lead scoring, because it's useful across the business, is a one-size-fits-all program. There are a number of different types of lead scoring models, which each have their own unique benefits and their own place to fit within your organization. I like to break it down into demographic, behavioral, and customer lead scoring. Demographic lead scoring is what you know about your customer when they walk in the door. It's the information on your trial sign-up form. It's their email address. It's a few quick data points that will help you make a snap judgment about how good that lead is. This is really helpful for when you're trying to make time-sensitive decisions, such as which leads should be dialed immediately upon sign-up. From there, you can work to integrate behavioral lead scoring. Behavioral lead scoring takes all of the information from demographic lead scoring, but also layers in the actions that your lead takes within your product. This is really critical information and will help you build out a model that's far more predictive than just demographic lead scoring. The downside of behavioral lead scoring is that it does take a little time for that information to accrue, but what you lose in speed, you end up making up in predictiveness. And finally, there's customer scoring. The lead scoring journey doesn't end once a customer has closed. You can continue to build out customer lead scoring models that will tell you whether a customer is an expansion opportunity or if it's time to take churn mitigation tactics with them. All right, 3 different kinds of lead scoring models. It sounds like it's getting a little overcomplex. And what a lot of people tell me is that they want to do lead scoring, but it sounds like it's too much work to get going and too much of a burden for their organization. So I want to walk through a quick and dirty way that you can build a lead scoring model in just a few hours. And the way to do this is by focusing and building a lead scoring model around a magic number called Rev Up. Rev Up, or revenue per opportunity, is one of my absolute favorite metrics because it elegantly combines 2 critical metrics, close rate and ARPA, into one single value metric to optimize against. Rev Up is an invaluable tool for analytics across your business, but it also provides you a really easy on-ramp to lead scoring because you can build a lead scoring model that allows you to maximize Rev Up on your best leads and show which leads have very little Rev Up potential. Let's walk through how to actually build this in just a few lines of SQL code. So the first step is calculate your overall Rev Up. This is really easy. It's just revenue divided by number of leads in a cohort. This is the expected value of all of your leads in your cohort. But for lead scoring, you don't want to just know what your average is. You want to find the variations, the things that make some leads have a higher Rev Up and some leads have a lower one. To do that, you simply bring in the dimension that's relevant for this and break out Rev Up across the variation. In this example, industry. So now, in just a few lines of code, we have some really useful information. We know that manufacturing leads are really good for us, and retail are less good. This is the kind of information that your sales team intuitively knows as they're sizing up leads, and what we're doing here is systematizing it. And then it's time to aggregate your Rev Up into a single score to build out your lead scoring model. So here, you can take multiple different aggregate Rev Ups that you've calculated: industry, region, device sign-up type, email domain. There's all kinds of interesting things that you can use to break this out, and what you're looking for are attributes that have a high variation between the highest amounts of Rev Up and the lowest amounts. Then you add all of those Rev Up scores together and use a simple SQL entile function to break it down into a unified lead score. And there you have it. That's a lead scoring model that can work pretty well for a lot of businesses that doesn't take a ton of effort to get started. And obviously, this is just scratching the surface, but once you have an initial on-ramp to lead scoring, you'll find it's pretty easy to go forward from there, build out your model, and get people on board with it. And so to do that, let's take a look at a couple lead scoring keys to success, or things you can think about in your organization as you're implementing lead scoring. First up is data engineering, not data science. Look, we all want to use the deepest neural nets to have the coolest algorithms on the front page of Hacker News. But the fact of the matter is, you can do really great lead scoring without getting insanely complicated in this area. In fact, as we just showed, our lead scoring model is built with nothing more than simple algebra and mostly vanilla SQL, with only some macros done using our data transformation tool, dbt, to help us make the process a little bit more systematic. But that's definitely not to say that lead scoring is super easy to do, because the difficult part lies in the data engineering. To get a great lead scoring model, you're probably going to have to be moving hundreds of millions of rows of data per month. You're going to need to make sure that all of your models are running at the right time and that they're updating and that the lead scoring is filtered into the correct looker reports so that people can actually take action on it. Doing this takes a lot of time and discipline, but ultimately, it'll be a huge benefit for your organization. Second is eat the whole wing. How many of you have ever gone out to lunch with a friend, ordered chicken wings, and seen them take just a couple bites before tossing away the wing with a ton of meat left on the bone? That's how I feel. That's how I feel when I hear organizations that are doing lead scoring and they're just using their trial sign-up form. We live in a world where we're overflowing with an absolute abundance of data sources. Everything from the behavioral components we talked about before, data your sales team provides through your CRM, even things like support tickets successfully completed and the sentiment attached to that can all provide useful information for your lead scoring system. The important thing is always to be thinking, whenever you're connecting a new system to your data or looking at data in a different way, is whether we can pull that into our lead scoring model, and if so, does it help us build a model that's more accurate? And the final step is to have an implementation plan. You can have the best lead scoring model in the world sitting in your Looker Explorer, but if your organization isn't using it to make actual decisions, then there's not much point to it. So it's really important to know how you're going to get your executives, decision makers, and frontline business users on board with lead scoring. The good news is that if you have a good lead scoring model, everyone is going to want in on this. So our strategy for getting lead scoring bought in by the company was really simple. We took our best Looker dashboards, the ones that people actually look at every morning, and we brought in a few key looks showing information from the lead scoring system. Our marketing team didn't just see how many leads they brought in, but they saw how many of our best leads, gold leads as we called them, they were bringing in, and they saw the payoff and the return on investment from historical gold leads so that they could immediately see that using our system would help them hit their revenue targets more effectively. Our sales team didn't just see trial to demo. They saw trial to demo by lead quality. And they saw the number of dials it actually took them to get a demo across each lead quality, and that they could get a new demo scheduled in less than half as much effort if they were to focus on the best leads. Once you provide your end users with information like this, they're immediately going to want more. At least that's what we saw. And they'll start coming back to you. First, it'll be with suggestions on how to improve the model. Our sales team is constantly coming to us with ideas about how the model can be improved and how we can keep surfacing the best leads for them while keeping the garbage out of their dial queue. Then, they'll come back to you with operational decisions. How can we change the way that we make decisions based off of the lead scoring system? Things like changing marketing campaigns to bring in more of the best leads. And finally, they came back to us and they said, we believe in this so much, we want to start setting goals around it. And so now our marketing campaigns are judged based off of not overall lead volume, but how many of the best leads did they bring in. Our sales teams have SLAs around actions by lead type. Once you've gotten the organizational trust this high in your lead scoring, you'll be well on the way to creating a culture of lead scoring in your company and making better decisions faster. Thanks so much. I'm Jason Ganz with GoCanvas, and happy to take any questions.